funding, conflicts of interest, and the future of Yakima Valley Trolleys. The trolleys are facing eviction, funding questions, and an unclear path forward, as their agreement with the city expired at the end of 2025. Today, I sat down with Scott Neel, a lifelong trolley volunteer who has been involved since childhood. In this interview, Scott breaks down the grant issues, the William O. Douglas Trail connection, and the conflicts of interest he believes are shaping what happens next. This is his perspective, explained in detail, only here on Sky Shutter.
So my name's Scott Neel, and I got first involved with the trolleys at age 12. And a man named Jerry Henderson, who was the head of the trolley organization at the time, was working with me as a young Boy Scout on a citizenship in the community merit badge. And he invited me down to the trolleys to volunteer as part of that fulfillment of that merit badge. And so I went down, and the railroad at the time was still running, and we were running trolleys at the same time. And he very graciously helped me to understand what their organization was all about in running trolleys on the streets of Yakima, and enjoying the public, and helping them to understand the history of the trolleys that are a part of Yakima. And through that, I gained more of an appreciation for that. I always liked trains from the beginning, but this was sort of a real life way to experience that at, I guess, the next level. So that was 1983, and here it's 2026 almost, and I'm still doing it.
Still here. Yeah, 2026 is a few hours away. But wow, so you're still doing it. And so I mean, with all the current situation involving the trolleys and like the funding issues and all of that, I'm kind of curious what you think the main problem is, and maybe some of the main issues surrounding that whole thing.
Well, I think that the main issue goes back probably 20 years to the 2005-2006 timeframe. And that's when one of the city officials came to our group. I was on the board of directors at the time, and made a proposal to the trolley board. We had an aging bridge over the Natchez River. It looked like it was in disrepair, looked worse than it was. A lot of paint peeling, a little bit of rust, just an aged bridge that hadn't been repainted or restored or maintained for probably close to 80 years. And he came with a proposal that he could secure funding to restore the bridge, to sandblast it, to repaint it, to preserve it. And one of the things that was also proposed at the same time was to add a trail to the bridge. And he had some drawings drawn up, and it had a cantilever structure out to the side off of the trolley bridge. And for aesthetic reasons, for a number of reasons, the trolley board voted against that. It was not something that we wanted. It turns out that the grant money came through anyway, and the bridge trail part of it sort of faded into the background a little bit. And that was all about restoring the bridge. It needed to be restored. So we were in favor of that. So the bridge was restored. And the trail idea sort of went away. And the city official, there was two of them at the time that were enthusiastic, seemed like, for the trolleys. And everything was good. what we didn't know was that the city official was also the founding president of the William O. Douglas Trail Foundation. At the same time that he was working for the city, and he also was volunteering as part of the trolley board. And it seemed like maybe a three-way conflict of interest for one individual to be holding the purse strings of being able to fill out the grant and then to have controlling interest in the grant money and how it was spent. It didn't matter to us at the time. We were happy to have the bridge restored, and things were good. The city's turned over the positions, and the individual retired. A new city official took over his position, and still the bridge idea of having the trail on the trolley bridge was still left dormant. And that was primarily because the new city official in charge there didn't agree with having a trail alongside a railroad, an operating railroad. So fast forward to 2023, and a lot of people will, if they're in town and they remember, there was a proposal again made to the city council about putting a trail on the trolley bridge. And this time it wasn't a cantilevered structure out to the side. It was actually going to be placed between the rails on the trolley bridge within the structure itself. And the structure, according to the city, was termed a multi-modal facility, meaning two modes of transportation. And the grant funds were secured, and still we opposed this strenuously. Anybody in their right mind would not put people in the path of an operating railroad. There's Operation Lifesaver that is sponsored by the railroads. It basically tells you to stay away from operating trains. Trains and people don't mix. Apparently, though, that's an exception here in Yakima, because city officials and this William O. Douglas Trail group were all for it. And the only separation between the two that they could come up with was what they called a temporal separation, which is a time separation. And as most people know, that trains have the superior right-of-way over traffic, over pedestrians, over everything, because they can't stop. Well, the proposal to the city was that the trail would be built on the bridge between the rails, and that the trolleys would then become the secondary mode of operation on the bridge and not the primary. So the trolleys would have to yield to pedestrian traffic. And of course, that's not something that's logical. It's not something that is safe. It's not something that any operating railroad now has to deal with. And for safety reasons and for aesthetic reasons, we opposed it as the board. I'm no longer on the board of the trolleys. I stepped down shortly after that. So I'm speaking completely as a citizen and in recounting how all of this happened. So the trolley group had their opinions. William O. Douglas and the city had theirs. The city was going to continue with the project until Burlington Northern stepped in, and that's the local railroad. The land under which the trolleys sit in that region is on Burlington Northern right-of-way. So as YVT built that line to Sela in 1912, they had to secure an easement from the then Northern Pacific Railway. And the easement was for passage through the Sela Gap. And the land under which the trolleys exist now is owned by the now Burlington Northern. And so the easement was granted, and the easement, the language in the easement says that only the trolleys can occupy that land and as an operating railroad. So the plan for the trolleys and the trail to share the bridge was again rejected, this time by the landowner, Burlington Northern. So come to today, the trail group has not given up. They are now in the process of trying to delist the trolleys as a place on the National Historic Register. They are trying to actively oppose our inclusion as a National Historic Landmark, which is an application that's almost complete. And this is all curious as to why this is happening. Well, back in 2006, there was grant money involved. And the grant money was for rehabilitation of the trolley bridge and addition of the trail. So it appears that the William O. Douglas Trail Group has received money, and the city of Yakima has received money to build a trail that cannot be built. And that seems to be the underlying issues that are not spoken about for the city's opinion that maybe the trolleys should be shut down. And maybe not completely shut down, but certainly shut down from the bridge north into Sela. And so this information, not known by a lot of people, we're in the process of trying to gather up all of the pertinent documentation, and hopefully we can make that available.
Gotcha. So, since the grant money can't be used for what it was intended for, is there like a fear that they'll have to pay that money back, or?
That's a distinct possibility.
Okay.
The money was granted from the Washington State Department of Transportation. And to my knowledge, they don't know that any of this is going on. I think if they were to understand or to come to realize that the money that was granted to City of Yakima that has either not been spent or it has been spent on things other than for what it was granted for, I certainly believe that they would look into recovering some or all of that money.
Okay. And do we know like how much money it was? Or?
I think it's just a little bit over $1 million.
Okay.
In 3 separate denominations that were granted.
And has all that money been used, or some of it?
That's a good question. And I think that would be a question for public officials. Certainly for the William O. Douglas Trail Foundation. I think they have some accounting to do for where all of that money is or where it was spent. And certainly if money is left over and waiting to be spent on the bridge for a trail, the citizens of the city should know that.
Yeah, I agree. So, has there been anything done with the trail? Is there like any work that's been done on that, or?
Well, there's certainly a section of trail along 6th Avenue from about River Road to Gordon Road and then maybe somewhat south of that as well. I'm not sure exactly how much of the trail is there, but there is an existing portion of the trail there.
Okay.
They have also additionally improved the hillside on the west side of the trolley tracks on the north side of the river.
Okay.
And so they are lacking a way across the river right now, and they are seem to still be intent on using the trolley bridge, and it seems to now be focused on using it without the trolley on.
Wow. So this whole situation kind of seems to be revolving around this bridge.
Yes, it does.
Interesting. Yeah, I didn't know that from an outsider's perspective. I didn't know that.
Well, there's an ongoing situation. The rebuild of 6th Avenue. Very convenient that it's going to cost a lot of money, and you know that may or may not pencil out in the end. We're sure hoping that it will, but that's a pretty convenient excuse to get rid of the trolley line as well. So there's a number of issues that are seeming to combine into maybe a perfect storm that is putting the trolley system in severe jeopardy.
I see. Yeah, that's quite the predicament. Is there? You mentioned that the Trail Foundation is trying to kind of sideline the National Historic portion of that the trolley is applying for.
Yeah, the National Historic Landmark.
Yeah. So they're trying to sideline that?
We don't know exactly who is involved in that, but I have it on an anonymous authority that it was people located here in Yakima that have petitioned the National Park Service to reject the application for National Historic Landmark status.
Interesting. That's just crazy.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No, it doesn't. Wow.
And when things don't make sense, someone's either lying to you or you don't have the whole story.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have the whole story on that.
Well, I agree with you. I think that's quite the eye-opening piece of information that you've shared. Well, is there anything that people can do to help the situation? I mean, it sounds like you're trying to get some more information about the grants and stuff, but just for the everyday citizen, is there anything we can do?
Absolutely. Contact your city council member. Show up to the meetings. January 6th, January 13th, January 20th. City Hall. Let your voice be known. There's only one way to save this national treasure that we have here in the city of Yakima. It's the only interurban railroad left in America that's never been torn up. It's the last one left. And for generations, kids like me grew up watching it and riding it. And, things don't pencil out so much when you talk logically. I'm an engineer by trade, mechanical engineer, and I'm skilled in logic and reason and numbers and science. I had to learn all of that through education. But what I was born with was an imagination and a curiosity. And that's why so many kids today are drawn to trains and things that just don't make sense. This little treasure that we have here in this city spurs kids' imaginations like mine 50 years ago to go on and be an engineer. That's stuff that you cannot put a price on. And that's the stuff that this city council is going to weigh when they make their decision. And I hope they think of things like that. I just got through giving rides on our 50-ton locomotive. 50 years ago, that was me riding that locomotive with the motorman that was actually in freight service. And I'm blessed to be able to pass that along to the next generation, but I don't want that to be the last generation.
Perfect. Yeah, no, I agree with you wholeheartedly. The whole situation is just, I can't imagine that, who would want to, get rid of such a historic piece of Yakima. And it makes me sad, to be honest.
Yeah. And like I said, when things don't make sense, we don't have the whole story.
Yeah.
And hopefully there's a few pieces here that might help people connect the dots.
Yeah.
But as far as citizens go, you're the final voice. They work for you. Go make your voice heard.
Yeah.
This trolley system needs you to do that. It's a pleasure to be able to sit and fight for something that really matters in this town.
Yeah.
We're losing a whole lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot of vacant lots and a lot of businesses that are vacant. We can't lose this.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that makes this town and this state unique in all of the nation. There's not another one like it. And it takes work to keep these things. They don't just happen on their own. So whatever we can do to save it, we'll do.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Scott. I appreciate you speaking out and being a brave voice.
Absolutely.
Yeah.